today I will be discussing about trigger points. What is the mechanism of formation of trigger points? And this next part of this lecture I will be discussing about the physiotherapy management of the trigger points. So first of all, what is trigger points? How we can define trigger point? Trigger point, they are the focal area of hyper irritability that is sensitive to the pressure, and the symptoms, it may radiate or it may not radiate to other part of the body. So this is definition of trigger point. So this trigger point, it may exist in most of the softer tissue. The trigger point, it exists in muscle, it exists in the fascia of the muscle, fascia which is covering the muscle, and it can exist in the skin, it can, and tendon, and in the ligaments. So these are the common sites for the trigger points. But most often the trigger points, they are formed within the muscle. So if the trigger point is formed within the muscle, so they are called as a myofascial trigger point. So what is myofascial trigger point? The trigger points, that is a trigger point, if it is formed within the muscle, then it is called as a myofascial trigger point. So the term, it is, so if the trigger point, usually the people, that is lay people, they call it as a tight band. So they call it as a tight band within the skeletal muscle. So the if you have a pain in the muscle, you can feel a tight band within the muscle. So within that band, so there will be a point where it will be painful. So that particular point is called as a trigger point. So what is so the classifications of a trigger point? So the classification of trigger point, it goes like this. That is, first there are two main classifications: active trigger point and latent trigger point. So active trigger point and latent trigger point. Latent trigger point are the trigger points where suppose if we are pressing the latent trigger point, the pain, the patient may have pain or he may not have pain. Latent trigger point. There are two types of trigger points: active trigger point and latent trigger point. Lateral trigger point, we can call it as less severe, and active trigger point, we can call it as more severe. This more severe and less severe. So latent trigger point, when we press the lateral trigger point, the patient may have pain or may not have pain. Usually they don't have pain in latent trigger point when it is pressed first. Clear? And the pain, it will not radiate. Suppose if I am pressing the latent trigger point, the pain will not radiate. Clear? But it is not like that in active trigger point. In active trigger point, when you press that particular point, the patient will have severe pain, and when you press that active trigger point, the pain will refer to some other part of the body. So that is called as an active trigger point. And this active trigger point is more severe and latent trigger point is less severe. Further, there are two classifications are there for trigger points. They are central trigger point and attachment trigger point. As the name, from the name we can understand that central trigger point, it usually present at the center of the muscle fiber, and attachment trigger point are the trigger points where you can find at the ends of the fibril. Maybe the attachment where the muscle, it gets attached to the bone, the tendon, near tendon, musculotendinous junction. So that is called as an attachment trigger point. So these are the four types of trigger points: central trigger point, active trigger point, they are more severe; latent trigger point, they are less severe. However, if the latent trigger point, if it is not treated, if the latent trigger point, which is less severe, if it is not treated, if there is no intervention for latent trigger point, then the latent trigger point may gradually become central trigger point. So in the earlier stage, the patient may have single active trigger point, and if this active trigger point, if it is not treated, and it may go to there may be formation of many latent trigger points, and if latent trigger points are not treated, all the latent trigger point will be converted into the central trigger point, and gradually patient may have pain at different area of the muscle. Yeah. So so mechanism, first how the trigger point is formed. So what is the theory behind the formation of these trigger points? So trigger points, before going detail into the formation or the mechanism of trigger points, so first it would be better to describe about the mechanism, that is muscle contraction, that is filament theory, cross filament theory, that is how the muscle is contracting. So for understanding the formation of trigger points, we should understand how the muscle it contracts. So there are the muscle, it does not contract like that. Muscle for the muscle to contract, there are totally 18 stages for the muscle contraction. Suppose if we take muscle is contracting, suppose if this biceps muscle is contracting. So for this biceps muscles to contract, there are totally 18 stages. They are called cross filament theories that I will explain in brief. So what is cross filament theory? That is for the muscle to contract, first I'll explain about the structure of muscle. So this is if we take example biceps muscle. So there are many muscle fibers. There are many muscle fibers form the muscle bulk, and each muscle fiber, it has many myofibrils. Clear? So the biceps muscle, it has many muscle fibers, and each muscle fiber is made up of many myofibrils, and each myofibril is made up of thousands of sarcomere. Clear? So sarcomere are the contractile unit of the muscle. So the many sarcomeres, it forms myofibrils, and many myofibrils it form muscle fibers, and many muscle fibers it forms a muscle bulk. So sarcomere, it is made up of two filaments. Sarcomere, it is made up of this blue color filaments, they are called actin filament, and black color filament, they are called myosin filament. So sarcomere is the contractile unit, and sarcomere it is made up of actin and myosin filament, and myosin filament, it has many myosin heads. Okay. So this is the structure of the muscle. So how the muscle contracts. So for the muscle to contraction, it should receive the order from the central nervous system, that is from brain. The brain should order, the muscle should contract. When the brain is giving command, so this in the action potential, it comes to the spinal cord through the nerves, and from spinal cord it goes through the gamma motor neuron, and it is this neuron, that is nerve, it is attached to the muscle. The nerve is attached to the muscle at the junction called a neuromuscular junction, where the nerve, it releases the action potential. When the command is, again I will repeat, when the brain is giving command, the information goes to the spinal cord. From spinal cord it goes to the peripheral nerves, that is a motor neuron. Through the nerve it comes to the muscle. So then the muscle, the nerve is attached to the muscle at the site called motor unit. Motor unit is the point where the nerve enters into the muscle. So the action potential, it comes down, the information, it comes down, and those action potentials are released or at the neuromuscular junction, at the motor point. So when the action potentials are released, the neurotransmitters are released at the junction. Suppose for example, if the nerve is coming like this, and it is attached to the muscle at neuromuscular junction. So here it releases the action potential. It releases the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters, when it enters into the muscle, and when it enters into the muscle fiber and myofibrils and sarcomere, so what happens? So when the neurotransmitter enters, it enters into the sarcomere. It enters into the sarcomere. So this is called the T tubules. So the neurotransmitter, it enters, or the action potential, it enters into the T tubules, and when the action potential is entered into the T tubules, then it goes to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is called the sarcoplasmic reticulum. When the action potential enters into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, then the sarcomere, the sarcoplasmic reticulum, it is the calcium ions is stored into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. The calcium ions, they are stored into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So when the action potential comes inside the sarcomere, the calcium ions are released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. When the calcium ions are released, then what happens? The calcium ions are released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. From calcium ion is stored inside the sarcoplasmic reticulum. When action potential comes, the calcium ion is released into the sarcolemma. What is sarcolemma? It is a fluid present inside the muscle fibrils. So the sarcolemma. So the calcium ion is released. When calcium ion is released into the sarcoplasmic in the sarcolemma, what happens? The actin and myosin, it gets contracted. Now it gets binded. Clear? So unless and until the calcium ion is released, the actin and myosin will not bind. Clear? If calcium is entering into the muscle fiber, if the calcium is entering into the sarcomere, there is a binding site in actin. This blue color is an actin filament. There is a binding site. There is a binding site for the myosin filament. That binding site is closed. Here it is not exposed. When calcium ion is entering into the sarcomere, what happens? The binding site is exposed. When binding site is exposed, now the myosin, it gets attached with the actin filament. Clear? So what happens? So calcium is necessary for binding of the actin and myosin filament. Now the cross bridge is formed. When the cross bridge is formed, and suppose if the muscle requires further more contraction, what will happen? More and more action potential will enter, and more the binding site of actin for myosin will present, and the actin and myosin will bind, and further more contraction occurs. Clear? So for the further contraction to occur, first the myosin will bind the actin. Clear? And so for unbinding, there is an ATP is required. For unbinding, the ATP is required, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is required for unbinding. ATP. So this ATP is also present within the sarcoplasm. So ATP, what it does? ATP, the energy released from the ATP, the energy released by the ATP is used to unbind the actin and myosin. Clear? And if further more contraction occurs, if the further more contraction is necessary, what will happen? The actin and myosin will further go in, and again it will bind. Clear? And further again, if more contraction is required, the ATP will release the energy, and it will unbind, and again it will rebind. So like this, the muscle, it contracts, muscle contraction occurs. Okay. So the ATP is required. So this ATP is required at two stages. That is stage 11 and stage stage 11 and stage 16, sorry, stage 11 and stage 16. So I have told there are totally 18 stages in contraction of the muscle. So ATP is used in two stages, that is stage 11 and stage 16. So first ATP is required to unbind the actin and myosin, and so that it can rebind if more and more contraction is required. This is first use of ATP, which is at stage number 11. And in stage 16 what happens? So if the muscle is if the muscle sarcomere has completed the contraction, if the sarcomere has completed the contraction, now the muscle should relax. So if the muscle, for the muscle to relax, what is necessary? What should happen? The calcium ions which was released previously from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, now it has to be reabsorbed. Clear? So still, if the calcium ion is present in the sarcolemma, clear? If the sarcoplasm, sorry, if the calcium ion is present within the sarcoplasm, then what will happen? The muscle will unbind the site for attachment within the actin will remain exposed. So for the muscle to relax, what should happen? The calcium should be reabsorbed. When the calcium is reabsorbed within the sarcoplasmic reticulum, what will happen? Now the binding site of actin is covered, is closed. If it is closed, then the myosin will unbind from the actin and the muscle will get relaxed. Clear? So for this re-entry of the calcium into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, again the ATP is necessary. So ATP is necessary in two stages. Stage number 11. So to remove to unbind the actin and myosin, the energy released by ATP is used to unbind the actin and myosin, and so that it can contract more. That is first use of ATP. And second use is, it is used at stage number 16. That is, it helps in reabsorption of calcium into the sarcoplasmic reticulum so that muscle can relax. So this is the mechanism of muscle contraction. So now, what is the reason for formation of trigger points? The formation of trigger points, so there are many theories are there behind formation of trigger points. One theory is called as an energy hypothesis, that is energy crisis hypothesis. That is energy. There are many theories, but one theory I will discuss today, that is called energy crisis theory. That is energy crisis theory. Sorry, energy crisis hypothesis. Okay. So what is energy? So energy crisis hypothesis is one of the main reason for formation of trigger points. So as we have already discussed, ATP is required to relax, or it is necessary to break the actin and myosin formation, that is break the cross bridge formation. Clear? So so we should not confuse with the trigger point and the global muscle contraction. What global muscle contraction is because of the activation of gamma motor neuron, muscle tightness. Overall, we are talking about muscle fibril. We are not talking about whole of the muscle. Clear? We are talking about only the muscle fibril. Muscle fibril. Clear? So what is energy hypothesis? So what is energy crisis hypothesis? So there are four energy. So if the underlying cause for this energy crisis hypothesis is lack of of ATP. Clear? Suppose if the ATPs are less within the sarcoplasm, so what will happen? So this ATP, as the ATP, we already discussed ATP is necessary for to unbind the actin and myosin. Suppose if the muscle is contracting, suppose if the biceps muscle is contracting, and the suppose if initially the muscle will contract, and if the muscle requires more contraction, first it will unbind, and again it will rebind, again it will unbind, and again it will rebind. So by this way the muscle is contracting further. Clear? So after contraction, if suppose there is a lack of ATP, within the sarcoplasm, then what will happen? The muscle which is contracted, the muscles, that is the sarcomere which is contracted, now it will remain in the contracted position. The fibril will not relax, because for the muscle to unbind, for the actin and myosin to unbind, the ATP is necessary. So after contraction, if there is a lack of ATP, then what will happen? The muscle will be in contracted state. It will not relax. Clear? So second thing what will happen? So I have told already, when the brain gives commands, the action potential comes, it passes through T tubules, and the sarcoplasmic reticulum will release the calcium ions. Now the calcium ions are released within the sarcoplasm. So now this calcium ions, now it should be reabsorbed. Clear? If the calcium ion is not reabsorbed, because here there is a lack of ATPase, the calcium ions which are released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, now it cannot be reabsorbed, because for reabsorption, that is stage 16, for reabsorption of the calcium ions, again ATP is necessary. So if there is no ATP, what will happen? The calcium will not go back. If calcium is not going back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, now the actin and myosin, the contracted actin and myosin, the calcium ions will be still present within the sarcoplasm, and it will result in further more contraction state of the fibril. Clear? So what is energy crisis hypothesis? That is a lack of ATPase. If ATP is less in the sarcoplasm, then the contracted muscle will, so this is the blue color which I have mentioned here. This is the taut band. I have mentioned here. This is taut band. So the muscle, some fibril, so black color is healthy sarcomere. This one is healthy sarcomere, and this one is taut band. Clear? And again healthy sarcomere, this is taut band. So this is sarcomere. These are the sarcomere. Clear? So what will happen if the ATP is absent? So what will happen? The sarcomere which is contracted will remain contracted. Clear? And these will not while the other sarcomere will be normal. Clear? So what will happen? So this gradually it becomes a taut band. Clear? This blue color is a fibril. Blue color is the sarcomere which remains contracted. So if the fibril, it remains contracted for a long time, then what will happen? It forms a band it forms a trigger point within the tight muscle or within the tight sarcomere. Clear? So this is called as trigger point. Clear? So trigger point is, always the trigger point, we can find the trigger point within the taut band. Suppose if we palpate, we can feel a tight band. Clear? We can feel a tight band. And within the tight band, if you palpate the tight band, So there will be a point where you will have severe pain. That particular point is called as a trigger point. Clear? So this is the mechanism of formation of trigger point. Clear? First hypothesis is energy crisis hypothesis. So I would like to explain a little more about this energy crisis hypothesis. That is, there are four subdivisions. We can study under four headings. Energy crisis mechanism. First is the underlying cause of ATP lack. Clear? I have told that if ATP is less, then it will result in formation of trigger point. So what is the reason for lack of ATP? There are four main causes. Clear? One is ischemia, that is lack of blood supply, and second is contraction, ischemia cycle, and C, third one is pain, spasm, pain cycle, and D, pain, spasm, ischemia cycle. So these are the four major reasons for lack of ATP. Clear? So what is ischemia? Ischemia is a lack of blood supply. Suppose, for example, we will take a muscle is contracting. Clear? When the muscle is contracting, what will happen? The muscles are squeezed. When the muscle, that is 30 to 40% of the contraction, the 30 to 40% of muscle contraction is enough to compress the vessels, that is compress the arteries, blood vessels passing within the muscle. Okay, suppose if this is muscle and the blood vessels are going within the muscle. If muscle is contracting, it will compress the arteries. If the arteries are compressed, then there will be a lack of blood supply to the area. Clear? So if the blood supply is less than the nutrients, we know blood carries nutrients. So that if there is a lack of nutrients, then the formation of ATP, new ATPs will be less. Clear? So this does not happen normally, but if the muscle is contracted for a long time, if the muscle is spasm, if the muscle is contracted for a long time, then what will happen? The vessels will be compressed and the blood vessels, the blood to the part will be reduced. If the blood supply is reduced to that particular part, then what will happen? The nutrients will be less. If nutrients is less, nutrients are necessary for the formation of ATP. So if nutrients are less, then the formation of ATP will be reduced. If ATP is reduced, then it will result in formation of trigger point that we already discussed. That is because of ischemia. And second is contraction ischemia cycle. I have already discussed this also. So contraction. So because of ischemia, clear? That is a cycle. So because if the blood supply is less, what will happen? Nutrients will be less, ATP will be less, and it will result in further contraction of the muscle. Clear? So further contraction of muscle will result in further ischemia, and further ischemia will result in lack of further ATPs,